Guys, I think 2 weeks ago, I said to you on the live stream, I said, right guys, this is going to be the last live stream we do when there's relative peace. I was a week out. So there is absolutely so much going on in the world today, So what I want to do is I want to answer as many of your questions as I can. There's lots of these attacks going on. So any questions you guys get, just fire them up, okay? As normal, guys, please give this a like, please give this a share, and if you've not done so, also can you just give us a follow, because it really helps us out when you do that. So make sure you like it, share it as much as you can. We've got 2 platforms now, so if you want to go and show your support on our other platform, the link's in the bio. We will try and get this one uploaded onto our other platform in case anybody misses it. And that's about it for my prelims, I think. So remember, guys, any questions?
We've got his other moderator, Laura Rach, as well.
Oh, excellent. Right, guys, so I've got 15% on my tablet, so let me just open this up. Hang on.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Thank you, guys. Hang on, where are we? That one.
Shall we start with questions off this first, or do you want to start with yours
go
first?
with questions, Sarah.
Right, this first one's coming up from, are our children safe in school? Mad Mystery Mama.
Well, that's gonna So that's gonna depend. So that's gonna depend a lot on where you are, where the school is. What I would say is, and this is from my own experience. I've got 24 years experience working in this space, working in the Middle East, working in Eastern Europe. And I can pretty much guarantee nobody else has got that who's going to be, especially pundits on the TV, and they'll all give you the politically correct answer. The reality is, what we've got ongoing at the moment in the Middle East between Israel and Iran it's just the ice cap of a bigger problem, a global problem. Now, as soon as Israel starts attacking back these proxies and starts attacking back Iran, when it kicks off proper, you're going to see more of these protests on the streets, and these are going to get more, I don't want to use the word violent, but more agitative, if that's a word. Yeah, it is. More agitative. And from that, you're going to get, groups of people who are wanting to show their support for one side or another. So I think, escalations will follow and violence will follow. And unfortunately, guys, all right, listen, me and Sarah have got children, we live in the UK. And I'm telling you this now, guys, okay? There's going to be more violence on the streets in the UK if this war escalates in the Middle East, and I believe it will do. So will your children be safe at school? It's going to depend on where your school is, the demographic build-up of your school, and how you personally feel and what you feel is safe. There was a couple of months ago now, Sarah got a message. Can I tell them that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Sarah got a message on her dojo, and it said something like, parents, do not be alarmed, there's a problem at school. Well, Sarah went to school, she jumped over the gate and she was banging on the door and she's like, you know what, we're not having this, we're going. And I think that was the absolute right thing to do, but there was a lot of other parents who were just stood at the gate, and it was, like 4 foot high or something. Now, a 4 foot high gate is not going to stop any assailant that's trying to get into that school, okay? So I think, this is my opinion, and I used to teach this, so I'll probably be right. It's my opinion, Sarah did the right thing. She went in there, she looked after her child, and she took responsibility rather than waiting for other people to do that. So again, it's all going to come on to perspective where you are and where you live and the demographic build-up of your local area. Sorry guys, my tablet keeps going on to... Right guys, so the first thing I want to talk about kind of segues into what we just spoke about. This attack in Sydney. Was it in Sydney? I believe it was, yeah. So I watched a video on our other platform. I think his name's Tusi TV. And he did a really good video on that. And he broke down about what happened. And there was this guy, there's basically a guy and he's running around and he's stabbing people. He's killed 6 people. As we understand from the reports, there's a mother and a child the mother's died and the child's in hospital. I think the child was 9 months old. These are the reports that I'm getting from, from 2C TV. Whether they're right or not, we don't know, guys, okay? But this is what the reports are. Now, he showed other videos and other footage. Now, some of the things came apparent to me. One, why are people running up, again, and I don't mean to sound, there was one Syrian guy, he's a little skinny Syrian guy, and he's running around with a knife, and he's causing so many casualties. Why don't people stop him? And it's a very, for me, someone who's been in this space all my life, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, guys, there's a lot of you, just mob him and people won't die. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And the second thing, after the interview, after 2C had gone through all the, and if you do go over and watch 2C's video, guys, let him know I sent you. And a lot of the things that I was seeing were just so strange for me to look at. And at the end of the video, he's got this woman on there, this Australian woman. Now, when you usually see these people commenting after an incident, they're just saying, oh, it was terrible, it was this, it was that. But the woman, she said something very articulate, and I think it struck a nerve with me. She was saying why. She was saying, why would somebody do that? Why would somebody take a knife and just go kill random innocent people? Let me know in the comments if you've got any ideas why that is. People are saying that this guy's a Syrian asylum seeker. We don't know. I don't know. There's nothing official come out of it about it. I think it's very telling that the Australian police haven't released his name yet. They haven't released any background on him. Luckily, there was a police officer there, a young lady, and she shot him. Now, this brings up the bigger question, especially if you live in the UK. And if you live in America as well, because I'm going to segue these two together. Would this sort of thing happen in America? For example, would this have happened in Texas where everybody's carrying guns? Would it have happened, or would somebody have just shot him straight away? We're living in a world, especially in the UK now, where it seems like the only people who've got weapons and who are armed are criminals. And normal tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, we are literally the victims now, and it just seems we're heading towards this absolute dystopian future. All right, sorry guys, I have to put a password in each time. So guys, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to start with Israel or I was going to say Iraq then? Israel or Ukraine? Israel or Ukraine, guys? What are we going for? Israel or Ukraine?
Iran moving troops, yeah.
Well, let's go for Iran then. Let's go for Iran, Israel. So, again, guys, I don't want to be like this.
Ukraine and Israel's coming up. Israel.
Yeah, well, let's go with Israel, guys. Yeah. So, so I don't want to be that guy who, I'm certainly not standing here and saying I told you so, but remember like a couple of days ago, I said, this attack will come on Friday. It will start on Friday. And we got, some people in the comments saying, don't put a date on it, it ruins your credibility. Well, that's fine, but I knew it was going to start Friday. Why did I know this? And what a lot of people, especially on mainstream media, they've got no experience in dealing with this sort of stuff. So they don't know what to say. So they get told what to say, if that makes sense. Now, I used to be a country security manager in Syria and Iraq. So, I've seen all these things. I know how these things work. I've observed Ramadan with Muslims, and I know how, I know how important it is to them. So as soon as Israel gave the strikes on Iran, I looked at what was happening in the world, looked at what was happening in that region. I said, right, it's Ramadan. I said, nothing's going to happen in Ramadan. It's just not. No Muslim's going to start an attack in Ramadan. And what do I always say, guys? I say, these attacks normally happen on a Friday, which they do. And I know there's people in the comments that are saying, 9/11 didn't happen on a Friday and this didn't happen on a Friday. Yeah, I agree. But mostly they do happen on a Friday because of the human factor. So what happens on a Friday? Doesn't matter where you are in the world, Friday, everybody finishes work. So Friday, for most people, you get a short day's work. You get people going home early to see their kids. You get people going out drinking. You get people starting the weekend early. Maybe they've got a football trip, a camping trip. They're going somewhere. You've got less staff in the hospitals because it's the weekend. You've got less staff manning the checkpoints, manning the police. It's just all slightly easier to do on a Friday. And that's the human factor. You've got to take in this human factor. Also, you've got the financial factor, which is when these things happen, the stock markets go absolutely crazy and people draw their money out. Now, if you do these things on a Friday, they can't draw their money out because the stock market's closed. So that gives Friday, Saturday, Sunday for everything to settle down and people to calm down. And then on Monday, when the stock market's open, there's not such a big adjustment and people don't lose as much money. And that is, guys, in a nutshell, that is literally like my decision-making process. Obviously there are outside factors, weapons, troops, morale, all that sort of stuff. But in a nutshell, that's my decision-making process, guys. So that's where we got that. And that's why I knew it was going to be this Friday. Now, in Israel at the moment, they are expecting, you've got a question?
Yeah, I was just going to... Bruno just put, don't you think people in the UK need to worry less and be prepared more and just keep calm?
Yeah, definitely. I think people are worried. I think, like when I was in the military, I was in the parachute regiment, and one thing for us as being paratroopers was very clear was we never relied on any outside help. Everything we did, we would do it ourselves and we rely on ourselves. So we weren't worried about whether we'd get logistical supplies, whether we'd get the rest of the army coming and giving us artillery, whether we'd have air support, whether we'd have this, whether we'd have that. We just knew it wasn't coming. We knew we didn't have it, so we relied on ourselves and each other. And realistically, guys, that's all you can do. You stop worrying and just start being prepared. Accept that these things are coming rather than complain and be scared and try and go to your local politician and say, oh, you need to do this, because you know what, guys, they don't care. No, they've got bigger fish to fry. They don't care about us. All right. The number one role of the government is continuity. What do I mean by that? Okay. The number one role of the Tories at the moment is to stay in power. Nothing else matters, because without them staying in power, they can't implement any of their policies. So their number one role always is to stay in power. And that's any political party, guys. That's just the way the system's set up. So when you look at things in that context, you understand that nobody's going to come and save you. So everybody needs to look after themselves, identify these places that are likely terror hotspots, or likely, they don't call them terrorists anymore, do they? Because they're not aligned to a political cause. These are just Islamist-inspired lone wolf attacks. Doesn't matter, guys. If they're killing people, it doesn't matter what label they've got on them. You just need to avoid them. So me and Sarah, we were going to do a video for you guys in Meadowhall, which is a shopping centre near us in just outside Sheffield. We were going to do a video on there on how to act and react in the case of an active shooter. We're still going to do that, but we've just been so busy at the moment and we've not been able to do that. So we will get that out to you as quickly as possible.
Stu Hartshaven, you called it, mate. It's happening.
Yeah, I know. I'm not trying to break down things and tell people they're wrong. I'm telling you my decision-making process, so everybody can use it. It's a simple process, and people try to overcomplicate things with like, oh, but Biden says this, oh, but he says that. It doesn't matter. I can guarantee you not one Israeli or one Palestinian or one Iranian cares about what Joe Biden has to say. Nobody cares about those policies. They care about their own culture, their own policies, their own feelings, their own families. And that's why these things happen, guys, okay? Did we talk? Yeah, so, yeah, I think we've covered this, guys. So basically, at the moment in Israel, everybody knows what's coming. Everybody's preparing. Cash out? Say again?
Should I have cash out?
What in? I wouldn't cash out in gold. But guys, I'm not qualified to give you financial advice. I need to put that out there. But I wouldn't cash out in gold. What happens in these situations on a global scale? People put their money into gold. Right now, people will be putting their money into gold. Gold will be going through the roof. Once these, you know, all this conflict, once it slows down and people stop having these wars and, you know, all this stuff starts happening, all right, people will take their money from gold and they put it in property. That's the fact, all right, because that's the next safest thing. Once it goes into property, then people start investing in businesses and stuff.
Jared's just put, what do you think the terror threat is to the UK compared to other countries?
So it's a difficult one to gauge this. So remember when I was saying, I said, guys, whatever's going to happen next, it needs to start in February. Okay, remember when I said that? And everybody was saying, oh, World War III didn't start in February, you're wrong. And I never said that, guys. I said it would start. And I've said this loads and loads of times before. What we saw, and you'll all see it now, you'll all see it, everybody who's watching this thread now I've told you, you will see it. And everything you see, you'll see how it's heading towards it. And this happened in February. We saw this divergence between America and UK. The UK will focus its military efforts in Eastern Europe fighting the Russians. America will concentrate their efforts in the Middle East. And that's what we saw in February, all right? That's what we saw. We saw the beginnings of this divergence. And that's what we saw. And now I've told you that, guys. Every little event that you see, oh, he says this policy happened there, this happened there, you'll see that's why it happened. Again, this has just come to me, guys. In, I think it was October, maybe even November, I don't know, around about October time. But the Americans passed a resolution through Congress. I think it was 570 or 559. I don't know what, I can't remember the name exactly. But basically, that was a law that meant that America cannot let Iran obtain nuclear weapons at any cost. So that happened like fall last year. And now what's happening, you're seeing all this build up. So you're seeing America is now going to have justification to go into Iran. They're going to say, hey guys, look, you know, Iran, they're bad guys. You know, they've got these nuclear weapons and stuff. We passed this bill through Congress. It said Iran can't have nuclear weapons. So that's where America is going to focus its efforts. Here in the UK, we have a huge population, you know, of Muslims. You know, and if we were to use our military in the Middle East, then there'd be, you know, even more trouble on the streets. There'd be even more protests. There'd be even more violence. So now we're going to focus our attention in Eastern Europe fighting the Russians to keep things at home less volatile. And that's just the way it's going, guys. So the question was, what do I think the threat state is in the UK? Of course, it's higher than it was, you know, but I don't think we're at such a critical stage that we could be. And I think, you know, the UK have played this right by focusing their efforts, their military power, their influence, their finances in Eastern Europe against the Russians. So that's what I think about that. Do I think attacks are going to be likely? Yes. Do I think they're going to become more frequent? Yes. Do I think they're going to be as bad as they could be? No, not all. But, you know, guys, this is just the world we live in now, okay? Right or wrong, I'm not telling you what you should think. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Although sometimes I tell you what to think.
Chris Scriven just put, I remember the IRA threats back in the day.
Yeah, now the problem, well, not the problem with the IRA, but the thing about the IRA is they wanted to preserve their own, what's the word I'm looking for? Their own life. A lot of these attacks now are going to be committed by people who don't care about themselves, you know, who are just fanatics. So it puts a new dimension on the whole word terror, I guess.
And what do you think happens next with Iran? That's from Jolene.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what's happening at the moment, and then I'll tell you why it's happening, and then I'll tell you my predicted next step. Right now, this war is a fluid situation. It's dynamic. Things are happening left and right. So I won't be able to tell you verbatim what's going to happen, you know, with such accuracy that I normally would do when I can see things coming a long time away, because there's so many outside different things that can happen. So at the moment, Hezbollah. So at the moment, guys, Hezbollah is attacking from the north. They're firing as many cheap missiles, rockets, mortars. They're probably throwing stones over. You know, whatever they can to deplete the Iron Dome system from Israel. So Israel has a very sophisticated, it's the best in the world, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a fantastic piece of machinery. So every time a missile comes over, the Iranian Iron Dome system, the active radar will find it, it'll spot it, it'll send 2 missiles up. Those 2 missiles will explode next to it, stopping that missile coming in and killing innocent civilians. Now, these missiles range anything from $100,000 to $200,000 each. Now, think about the cost of that when the other team is firing a $200 mortar that is easily available. So they're trying to overwhelm that system so they run out of missiles. As soon as they run out of missiles, I feel that Iran will send bigger strikes, bigger missiles with bigger payloads. Now, what are the targets that Iran's going to be looking at? Well, I think the big targets that they could go for are the nuclear power plants that are in Israel. I think there's 3 of them and they're really big, you know, and one of those would be absolutely catastrophic if it was hit well. Even if it wasn't hit well and it didn't cause nuclear contamination, it would stop power from the, it would stop power production, and that, grinds everything else to a halt. What I would say as well is, at the moment, Israel will be under cyber attack. It will just be getting bombarded and bombarded and bombarded with cyber attacks. Do I feel that Iranian troops will try and enter Israel? Guys, that is a big push, even for a country as vast as Iran. I can't see it. I can just see this as a missile exchange between both sides. Now, the dangerous part here is when Israel decides to strike back, because they will, if they've been struck, and then at that point, it's just a free-for-all. Nobody knows what's going to happen, So that's what I feel is happening at the moment. And as soon as Israel strikes back, that's when you're going to see the protests, the big protests in the UK. That's when you're going to see, these mass agitative protests. So that's really what you need to be looking out for, and that's when we really need to be careful. Pay attention and make sure you know where your kids are, guys, okay?
Has there been any more news on conscription in the UK? Yeah,
so there's a lot. I think, hang on, I think I've got that here. Well, first of all, my thoughts are, conscription's not going to happen. But what they were saying is that people, I think it was the defence minister or somebody was saying that, people should be compelled to work in the defence industry no matter what it costs or whatever. But basically, I genuinely don't think there's going to be conscription in the UK. It's going to be kind of like, not forced labour, but they're going to choose people and they'll have to go and work in said industries, making bombs, making whatever kit and equipment the military need. There will be a mass recruitment drive though, guys. That's inevitable. Right, so let's see what Joe...
What does Sean think about the beards in the army now?
Oh, God, who asked that?
That's from Dan Tomo.
Dan Tomo, that sounds like you're in the army or you was in the army. So, Dan. So, the UK, the military, has got a huge recruitment problem. Now, their answer and the solution for it is to let people grow beards. First of all, I don't like it at all. It doesn't look smart, it doesn't look soldier-like, and it doesn't look clean. And you want your army to look clean. You want your army to look professional. That's by the by. The fact that the military think that, right, guys, yeah, I know we've got a recruitment problem.
A beard makes you look like a Viking.
What?
That's Mr. No Name. A beard makes you look like a Viking.
It does make you look like a Viking, yes.
Thank you, Dan Tomo, he agrees with you.
Do you know what? I think operational beards are totally fine. I think in barracks, I don't think so at all. I just think it looks shabby. But the fact that, the fact that the government think that this is going to solve their recruitment crisis, it's absolutely absurd. Do you know kids, young men, who were thinking about joining the military, and then they said, you know what, yeah, I'd love to go and look after protect my loved ones and my family. I want to be fit. I want to do all this cool stuff. But guys, the only thing is I can't have a beard, so I'm not doing it. It's not happening, guys. It won't raise recruitment numbers. I think I think when you're on operations, you should be able to have an operational beard. Now, what I found working in the Middle East, working in Eastern Europe, working all over the world, I find that when I have a big beard, people listen to me more, and I have more. And honestly, guys, when I'm teaching a class, if I'm clean shaven, it's a totally different response to if I've got a big dirty beard. And that's just the reality, guys. Okay, so I do think when people go away on operations and there's no need for it.
Oh yeah, but Scully's just put. I thought you needed to be clean shaven for the gas mask to seal properly.
Yeah, no. Well, again, I think this is going to be surplus to operational requirements in the sense that if there's no nuclear, chemical and biological or CBRN threat, nobody will shave. But I do think that if guys are going to an operational environment where they may need to put a respirator on, yes, I think that they will be able to shave. They will need to shave on that. But I heard something about the sailors carrying a tub of Vaseline in their respirator pouch, and they used to put the respirator, cover their beards in Vaseline before. I don't know how much truth's in that.
Chris Scrivens put, are you allowed tattoos in the military?
Yeah, you're allowed tattoos in the military. I think when I was in there was a rule that you couldn't have it below your, what would you call that, shirt sleeve or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, in one para, everybody had tattoos all over their arms, so I don't know what that is, but certainly you're allowed tattoos in the military. I'm not sure about facial tattoos and everything, but yeah, definitely tattoos in the military. It was kind of like a rite of passage when you've been in for a year or something. You can get your battalion tattoo, and it's kind of like
Laura just put you can have them anywhere, just not on your face.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Laura. Okay, so this is kind of so I've got an article here this is from yesterday, guys, so it's kind of old and it's already happened, but that just highlights how dynamic things are changing. Sarah, I'm just conscious that the light's gone. Do you think are we going dark? Do you want us to turn the lights on?
A little bit of light.
Oh, then there was light. Guys, is that better? You can see me now. You can see my fantastic hair, and I know what a lot of you are saying, guys. And I would agree with a lot of you sometimes. I'm not the Messiah. But the more I think about it, the more I think I could be the Messiah. And I've lost my page. I bet you guys know my password, don't you? I do it that many times in front of you.
You are Messiah.
Yeah, so this is a bit of an old article now, guys. 19 hours. But that just shows how dynamic this situation is and how fast things are moving. So Joe Biden expects Iran to attack Israel sooner rather than later. Remember, I told you the exact time and date that they'd attack over a week ago.
Oh, Sean, we've got a question. It says, what you think of the new flag for the kit?
I've not seen it. What are we talking about?
I don't know. This is from Hull Carper.
Hull Carper. What do you mean the new flag for the kit? I don't... Oh, the England kit. Is that what you're talking about? The England kit? Let's go with that. Yes, so the new flag... Yeah, so the new flag on the England kit. So first of all, let's be politically correct first and say, if you have a country's flag, any deviation from that is not the country's flag. It's not, is it? Right? You think about...
Is it the St. George's Cross change?
Yeah. So you think about it. We've had a St. George's Cross in our country for... Guys, and people hate the St. George's Cross, don't they? When you understand the meaning of the St. George's Cross, with St. George not accepting defeat against overwhelming odds and continue to fight forwards and push and drive and succeed until the dragon finally said, you know what? I can't fight this guy. This guy just will not stop. When you understand that and the charge that gives English people, and and I think he said it best in Henry V, Shakespeare, when he said, what did he say? He said, once more unto the breach or stack the wall with our English dead. So I think if you change that flag or deviate it at any point, then it doesn't become the flag anymore and it has no meaning. Now, the fact that they've changed the England flag to some woke, I don't know, LBGTQPRS. I don't know how many letters they put on there. Guys, there is a considerate war and definite centres to try and divide British people and try and divide people of strength, because, you know, once you get the strong people divided, once you get rid of that strength and all there is weakness, people are easier to control, people are easier to manipulate, people are more malleable. So that's why they're doing that, guys. Now, so what you'll have and again, I'm just thinking out loud here, guys. So you will have a group of people who support England football team. You'll have some of them that will be gay and some of them that will not be gay. Doesn't matter. I couldn't care less where you put your thing. All right. But what that will do is that will divide those people. So you'll have the gays on one side and whatever sexuality they are, and then you'll have the other people who are not gay, and then they'll feel segregated. So straight away you've drawn a wedge down and you've divided. You know, if you can divide an army, it's easier to conquer. And that's why they'll be doing it, guys. You see this all the time. You see Black Lives Matter. You see all these other fringe groups that all they want to do is divide society and divide people. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Tom Tucker, yeah, that made me laugh.
Cheers, buddy.
Do you think...
Right, have we got a question? Or
do you think they will use nuclear weapons? Will there be a war here in the UK?
Well, the war's already here in the UK. Well, I think what the question is, will there be things going kaboom here in the UK? I can't see things going kaboom here in the UK. What I can see is, you know, like I've said before, once this kicks off proper in the Middle East, what I can see is more lone wolf attacks, more Islamist-inspired attacks, you know, all this sort of stuff happening. So, you know, we just need to keep our vigilance open. And for those of you who watched the footage of the attacks in Sydney, you'll see, guys, those people who are vigilant, all right, who see a guy coming up towards them with a knife and face him and go, "What are you doing?" He turns away and walks off, because these attackers don't want confrontation. They don't want anything to slow them down, so they'll avoid confrontation.
That's correct.
So, yeah, that's what I can see happening. Right.
Does Russia send spy planes and warships close to waters of other Western countries?
Yeah, all the time. You know, this happens all the time. You know, jets are scrambled from, Coningsby? RAF Coningsby. Jets are scrambled all the time from RAF Coningsby. There's, I think it's Machrihanish in Scotland.
That's why we have the Second Amendment.
What's that?
That's why we have the Second Amendment, 44 Skywalker's put.
Yeah, you know, Skywalker, I can assume you've just joined, but I mentioned this earlier. I said, listen, you know, when these guys are cruising around with knives in these Western cities that are totally unarmed, can you imagine that happening in somewhere like Texas or Florida, where people are concealed carrying? It just wouldn't happen, you know. That's why I think there should be serious discussion in the UK about gun laws and, you know, potentially letting people conceal carry, because, you know, the police don't have the capacity to deal with that. If that was in the UK, somebody would have had to phone the police. The police would have to send an armed response. The armed response would have cordoned the area off. This would have taken hours. And all that time, you've got somebody inside who doesn't want to have conflict himself, because you can see this on the footage. You can see this on the footage of the Australian attack. Every time somebody turns around to him and squares up to him, he walks off. So, you know, just a normal civilian in there that was, you know, packing a Glock 17, 19, whatever you want, maybe a Sakata and a 2011. Guys, I'm sorry, I shouldn't. Right, guys, but you can see what I'm saying, guys. Even a crossbow would have helped. But you know, we're in such a state in the UK where especially in the UK, where we take away and we've taken away from ourselves any responsibility to protect ourselves, and we're looking to other people to come protect us.
Yeah, Sarah Lowe just put, how do you suggest people in the UK defend themselves? Won't be long before my dogs go everywhere.
Yeah, what dogs have you got, Sarah? Yeah, again, it's very difficult in the UK because it's, you know, it's a legal minefield. You know, I mean, there was the guy in, I can't remember where it was, but there was a guy who got his house burgled. This was like a couple of years ago, but there was an old guy. He got his house burgled. He had a fight with the burglar, and the burglar died. The burglar had a knife. You know, the old guy got arrested. Can you, what? How is that? How is that legal? Obviously,
Dan Tomo, thank you.
You know, obviously he got released. He got released without any charge. But the fact that this happens here in the UK and the stress that that man must have gone through. First of all, he's killed someone. You know, that's not a good thing. Nobody wakes up in, well, certainly nobody I know wakes up in the morning and thinks, yeah, I'm gonna do something real. You know, this happened. He was laid in bed on it. You know, I assume on his own. He was laid in his bed in his own house peacefully, and somebody broke into his house with a knife.
Tony Martin, that's right.
Was that it? Is that his name?
Yeah, thank you.
I can't. Thank you, buddy. I couldn't remember the name. Like I said, guys. Okay, I don't rehearse these. You know, I don't read off a script. I give it to you straight. If you look on mainstream media or anybody else talking, they're reading off a script and they're being told what to say, and they don't know what they're talking about, guys. I'm giving you facts and figures in real time from this grey stuff. Okay, so yeah, so the gentleman just said what his name was, but you know, so he's had a traumatic event happen to him. And then the police come and arrest him. And he's had to spend time in the cells being questioned. It's absolutely absurd. It's like we're living in a clown world.
Oh, Sarah's got a Rottweiler and 2 staffies.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is with that, Sarah, can you imagine now if somebody, and again, I'm just being like, thinking outside. The way we are in the UK, if your dog's bit someone, what happens to your dogs? Do you know what I mean?
It's scary, isn't it?
It's, your dogs are protecting you, and then they bite someone, and then somebody doesn't like it, and then, can you imagine if just the worst happened to your dogs? Guys, we're dog lovers in this family.
Yeah, your pets are your family, aren't they?
We love dogs, pets are our family, you know. Yeah, but it's one of those things that I often, I'm scared about because they are, your animals, they're part of your family.
Do you think all this craziness can have a knock-on effect with international travel in the summer?
Yeah, definitely will, 100%. I think in Israel, it's one of the things I was going to speak about if we've got time. So in Israel, they're starting to cancel trips. They're starting to
schools.
Yeah, so they're starting to cancel school trips. That'll have a knock-on effect. They'll want to keep people safe. I think where is it, guys? Where is it? Denmark? Copenhagen? Yeah, Copenhagen. So I used to work in Copenhagen, and the amount of police on the streets there around the schools, around the Jewish schools, it's unbelievable because of the threat. And guys, what kind of a person targets children? It's disgusting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it will have a knock-on effect to international travel.
In France, in general, people don't think World War III will or can happen.
Well, I mean, it's already happening, guys. I don't know how many more times I need to say this. I'm telling you things. At what point does everybody just say, yeah, it's happening.
Thank you, dear.
Look what's happening. The Middle East at the moment, that's going to drag America, like I said, with these diversions, that's going to drag America into it. Britain, I feel, are going to stay out of that pot. Britain won't want to get involved, potentially. They may have a very small number of advisors, special forces, intelligence services, but there'll be nothing like the Americans have got there. The British are going to focus in Eastern Europe against the Russians. And the elephant in the room, guys, is China. China can sit out of this one China can sit out and come and emerge as the winner because they won't have used any of their resources. Mm-hmm. They won't have used any of their money. They'll still have a human... Think about your currency. A currency of hang on, let me articulate this, guys. A currency is a direct representation of the human equity it supports. I think I've articulated that well. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you've got no people in your country to produce stuff, to build stuff, to make stuff, to export, to import, to do stuff, to make stuff happen, your currency's worthless. So China can sit out of all this craziness, not get involved, and they will become, by the de facto world leader, and they don't have to do anything.
Do you agree with the retired US Colonel Douglas Macgregor and his views?
No. Douglas McGregor. So Douglas McGregor's been very vocal.
We will put it on YouTube, yes.
Yeah, we are putting this on YouTube, guys. We do that now because it's a lot of people are not. They might get the last 20 minutes, they might get the first 20 minutes, and we go for an hour. So I understand that. So we do put this on our other platform. So Douglas McGregor, okay, he's right about some things, but he's so wrong about other things, which it gets me so frustrated. So a lot of the things he says, he's kind of a Russian fanboy, and he'll say things like Russia was provoked. Guys, Russia weren't provoked. This war's been happening since 2013, all right? It has. 2013, there was a revolution in Ukraine. Guys, I was there. I saw it happen. I witnessed it firsthand. I saw people, like real people on the real streets wanting a revolution. I went to Viktor Yanukovych's house. He was wild, guys. He was one of these wild dictators. He was pro-Russian. He was pro-Kremlin. He was a henchman of Putin. Now, what happened? What happened in Ukraine is the Ukrainians were supposed to be an independent state. What happened is they were looking at themselves and they were looking at the vast corruption and ministers just destroying the country. I think it was the Ukrainian transport minister. He built himself. He wanted to look at some transport systems. So he wanted to look at traffic lights, road lightings, road works, road surfaces, because there's a lot of potholes in Ukraine, believe it or not, if you think this country's bad. So what he did, he built a village, with different materials, and he said, we actually need houses on those villages, and we need to see how the pipes work, and we need to give it electricity. And then guess what he did? He just kept it for himself. So he's got a village now, and he just built that from taxpayers' money, and he kept it himself, and that's his, and that's where he lives. Guys, can you imagine living there, okay? So what happened is people in Ukraine were looking at places like, what's a good example? Czechoslovakia. Go and look at the GDP of Czechoslovakia. Go and look at the living quality in Czechoslovakia. It's brilliant, guys, okay? They are a perfect example of how capitalism works after being a Soviet state. So the Ukrainians, they didn't want to be part of Russia and have to deal with corruption. They wanted to be more like Czechoslovakia, where, they earn money and they keep it. So that's why the Maidan Revolution happened, nothing else. Did the US government and other intelligence agencies fan the flame when it was started? Maybe, I don't know. Do the Russians fan flames over here? Yes, of course they do. It's kind of what governments do. After this, I think it's interesting to say, after this revolution, there was a huge influx of Russian tanks from the east. And let's not forget MH17 that was shot down, guys. That is just absolutely catastrophic. The crash site on MH17, little children's toys, mobile phones out. It was, you can't even come to terms with what happened. And remember, the Russians said it was not them. Guys, I've worked a lot in Northern Ireland, and none of the Northern Irish ever had surface-to-air missiles that were capable of taking down passenger jets. Don't do it, guys. You just don't have it, all right? So Douglas McGregor, guys, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. So Douglas McGregor, he says a lot of this stuff like the Russians were provoked. The Russians weren't provoked. The Russians were taking Ukraine. The Russians were taking their minerals. Guys, before any of this happened in 2014, I was sat in Donetsk in a car by the railway station with my interpreter. This was like going way back. And I said to my interpreter, the train was going past, I said, oh, it's a big train, Jen, yeah? He said, yes. I said, what's on it? He said, coal. I said, wow. I said, where's it going? He said, it's going to Russia. I said, what? From Ukraine? They're still sending it? He says, no, they're stealing it. So the Russians had moved in there and they were just stealing the natural resources through this whole campaign. They've been taking the resources from Donetsk. So that's the reality of the situation, guys. It's all about money, it's all about resources, and it's all about energy.
Sparky Jacks put proxy war happening now, US oil, dollar going down the drain, BRICS running economy now.
So what happened? So with the oil, everything, you know, a lot of these conflicts are about energy. So what happened with the Russian sanctions? The Russians, because they were sanctioned. Let me articulate this right, okay? So the Russians, to keep their oil flowing, they need to get it out of the country, right? And the sanctions on the Russian oil were such that they can't. No insurance company would insure the oil companies to ship their oil out. So the shipping and all that sort of stuff, they couldn't get insurance. So the Russians, what they did is they just bought their own oil tankers and they don't insure them. So that way they don't have to pay the insurance premium and they can still get their oil out at a phenomenal rate. We've been intruded by two little girls. Girls, can you just let us have some time? We're getting intruded. Guys, we're live. We've got two little girls laughing.
Not about killing people, was it's about lining your own pockets.
Yeah, guys, it's always about lining your own pockets. And in the UK, if we have a Labour defence minister, guys, it is going to be absolutely catastrophic, because the potential defence minister that we have in the UK he's so incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. All he knows how to do is write more checks. Let me tell you something, guys. A little bit of truth.
Cameron, yeah.
You know, these drones that people are talking about, they are high tech, but a lot of the sensors on them, there's only so many companies that can build those sensors. Now, the gimbal that goes on most drones, most handheld drones anyway, there's only two countries that really produce them. Israel and Sweden. Now the Swedish one, it's a lot heavier, so that kind of limits the capacity of that. So you've got one company, okay, and there's one system that everybody wants, and it costs $25,000. Guess how much the UK MOD pay for that system? That's $25,000. They pay $100,000 for that system. Now, tell me that's money well spent. I defy anyone to tell you that's money well spent. Yes, you need to put the servers on that. Yes, you need the wiring, you need transistors, you need resistors. You need to hook that up to servo motors and X, Y, and Z. You need to pay somebody to plumb that in. But guys, it does not cost that much more.
Thank you, Sparky. Jack, what do you think about the UK's new laser weapon?
Guys, so the Dragonfire laser weapon. So the problem with all these laser weapons is they're okay for what they were developed for. And they were developed for a threat 5-10 years ago.
Tracy Jane, dangerous, look at Maui.
Yes, yeah, that's the opposite way though. So the lasers, right, I think it's a good system. It's expensive to run, and I know what they're saying in the tabloids. They're saying it only costs £10 per shot. It doesn't cost £10 per shot. It costs money for power. It costs money for maintenance. It costs money for training and resistors and the whole machinery of it. It costs money to maintain the radars, because don't forget, when that laser, imagine trying to point a laser from where you are at a small drone coming in and going left to right, trying to point a laser. You can't do it. So what you need to do is you need to have a very sophisticated radar system and a very sophisticated hydraulic system on that laser to be able to hold it on that drone for any length of time. Otherwise, you're not going to hit anything unless it's really close. So while I think it's a good system and it's all right for what it's supposed to do, the threat now has changed. The threat now is from smaller, cheaper, easily produced drones, which it will be absolutely useless against, guys. Absolutely useless, all right? It can't do anything against these smaller drones, and that's a swarm of them. Come on, we've got 10 minutes. We've got 10 minutes, guys. What have we got, Sarah?
The way one, but it's just gone now. Opinions on Jordan closing borders due to Iran. Thank you, DATV.
Yeah, so you'll see, again, you in the Middle East at the moment, guys, it is such a hotbed. Being able to predict things at the moment with any degree of certainty is very difficult because there's so much stuff happening. you've got Egypt, you've got Jordan, you've got obviously you've got Saudi Arabia, the other big player. Obviously you've got Iran, you've got Iraq, which is Iraq's essentially a vassal state now of Iran. So what it's showing is, these Middle Eastern countries drawing lines in the sand on who they want to support, who they want to collaborate with.
Sarah Lowe's put, if UK take on Russia, what do you think Russia will do to us? Thank you, Jolie.
Well, it wouldn't be UK taking on Russia, it would be NATO and UK's allies. So first of all, for anything to happen to the so there's a lot of stuff in the tabloids at the moment about the UK not being able to fight the Russians, which is true, but it's kind of a non-question because the UK wouldn't fight Russia. The UK can't fight Russia, but the UK and its allies can. Now, the Russian war machine it's absolutely ridiculous. Now they're replacing 1,000 tanks a month onto the Ukrainian battlefield. So we don't even have 1,000 tanks in the UK, but the Russians are allowed to produce and replace that many tanks. Now whether that's bringing older tanks out of storage, refurbishing tanks, building new tanks, capture tanks, I don't know how the statistics work out, but they're replacing 1,000 tanks a month onto the battlefield. For the war to actually get here in the UK, think of all the landmass that the Russians would have to move through to get to the UK. So the UK's role in this war, in this conflict, will be, and this is just me thinking it, I'm thinking that the UK is drastically reducing its numbers. They're drastically reducing manpower. And they seem to be closing down when the war's getting bigger. But I think what could be happening is the UK is finding its specific role of light infantry, special forces, and the ability to strike behind enemy lines and be able to strike globally. That would make the UK an invaluable asset to any other European country or any other ally in NATO. I think that's what would happen. Really, I don't think much.
Do you think all NATO countries will call a Cobra meeting in the next 72 hours to decide when to attack?
So Cobra is for the UK, it's specifically for UK, it's like Cabinet Office Briefing Room Alpha. Cabinet Office Briefing, yeah. So that's what Cobra stands for. Cabinet, what I just said, Cabinet Office Briefing Room Alpha, so that's Cobra. It's just the room that they go to and they all have a decision-making process in there. What they would do, I think, NATO, they would call something called Article 4, not Article 5. Article 4, and Article 4 will be when they decide who can attack who and how and under what circumstances. So, for example, those of you who have been following this channel for a while, you know that I've said Poland is going to be key. All right, don't listen to what anybody else is saying. Poland is going to be key. The proximity, their competency, they've been a long-standing member of NATO. They were in the Iraq war, in the invasion in 2003. Poland is a trusted partner. So it could be the case that Poland move into Ukraine first. They may go under some sort of guise as an expeditionary force, as a peacekeeping force. But what they'll be doing is we're going to have to move into Ukraine at some point and probably move up to the River Dnipro, which is Kiev, and that would then relieve all the Ukrainians to then go and fight in the east.
Practical just put breaking, Iran has launched against Israel. Thank you, David.
Well, let's hold that there. Let me just do a search for that. Breaking, Iran has just launched against Israel.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, guys, from the beginning of this speech, this is what I said. Go and look at the last video I did on my post. I literally said this would happen. I said they're going to try and overwhelm their defences.
Yeah, it's true. They're saying, yeah, it's true. Yeah. Oh, Tron TT.
Guys, people are not following me. Go and follow me now, okay? Share this video, share this post. We've got 2 platforms now. We'll be putting this online on our other platform later on. Guys, let me just search this quickly. It's not working. Right.
This world is hell. What does this now mean? Excuse me for a second.
News. Guys, it might be breaking, but I can't see anything on here. Oh, hang on. Guys, I can't see. Can you put a link to it on the page, buddy?
It's only just breaking in the last 10 minutes.
Oh, I've literally, the only thing I've got here is for a few hours ago. Guys, I will keep you up to date on that post. In the next couple of hours after this live stream, I'll put another video on there about that. But thank you so much for letting us know. Guys, when we're talking about the Middle East...
Tell him to check Faye Tuck's news. Breaking on where.
Thank you, buddy. So, guys, when we're talking about the Middle East and we're talking about this stuff, I've got 24 years in this experience. I've been there. I've been involved in these decision-making processes. I've been one of those guys who are advising, you know. And that's why I tell you what things happen. You know, it's not as difficult as people make out. It's not as, you know, when things are like they are now and there's the fog of war.
It's an Iranian cyber attack on Israel.
In Arabia, yeah. Well, guys, what did I say? I said they'd be getting blasted by cyber attacks. You know, this is how war moves forwards now. Okay, so when I'm telling you, okay, that there's going to be attacks in the UK, please, guys, just take it on board and take it seriously and keep your awareness about you. Go and watch the attack in Sydney. When this guy is confronted by people, he walks away. He doesn't want to know, okay? And that's what these attackers are like. They prey on the fearful, they prey on the innocent, and they prey on the weak, okay? So make sure you keep your vigilance about you. We're going to do some videos. How long we got left, Sarah?
Not long.
Guys, we're going to do some videos on what to do if you find yourself in an active shooter, but I'll tell you now real quick, okay? Run, hide, and fight. Don't listen to the UK government advice. It's stupid, it's ridiculous, it's going to get people hurt, all right? That's what you should do, okay, in that order. Run, hide, and then fight as a last option, all right? We're going to do We'll do a video on that when we're walking around. We're going to be in Meadowhall, we're going to be in other situations, you know. And we're just going to talk about how you should react in that situation. Remember, no two scenarios are going to be the same. Every scenario is going to be different. You're going to be wearing different clothes. You may have your kids, you may have your dog. You may not have any of them. You may be drunk, you may not be drunk. You may be hungover, you may be angry. You may have shopping bags in you. There's so many different variables. But what we're going to talk about in the next few videos, we're going to talk about some key elements. They'll just keep you guys aware. I get really worried when people are walking close behind me, and I'll always stop and let them walk past in front of me. That's an old thing from me when I used to work in Northern Ireland as a soldier, and people were walking behind you. It was very, you know, you didn't want people walking behind you, so you stop, let them move, and walk on. You're removing that threat, all right? You don't have to know kung fu. You don't have to go to any jiu-jitsu classes. Just a good level of self-awareness, a good level of awareness. You know, and that sort of stuff's going to really help people out, especially as we move forwards, guys. Remember, I'm telling you what's happening, you know, at least a week before it happens, you know. And we get the naysayers saying, oh, it never happened, or it didn't happen like that.
And it's absolutely not fear-mongering.
Yeah. Guys, the fear-mongering, I think the guy said it best. You know, we should stop being afraid and start to be prepared. And that's 100% right. If you know what's coming, you can be ready for it. Like a boxer, you never get knocked out by the punch you see. You can always deflect it, or you know it's coming, or tense your face. I used to block punches with my face. You know, you can stop it happening. The problem is when we have this blatancy, this blaseness, and we listen to the news and think, oh, everything's fine, nothing's gonna happen. That's when the problems really do start to happen, guys. Guys, we have got less than a minute left. What have we got? Any more questions, guys? Because I hardly managed to get through any of my talking points. Guys,
we will do an update video regarding this situation.
Yeah, we'll definitely do an update video, guys, regarding the situation in Israel, guys, okay? Guys, stay safe out there, okay? Remember, watch out for Israel's strike back, because once Israel strike back, that's when things are going to go crazy in towns, in cities, in public spaces. Just look what's happened in Sydney. There's going to be more of these copycat.
Thank you.
You know, there's going to be more of these copycats happening. It's just the way. It's just the world we live in now, guys. All right. I want to go back to the 90s.
We will try and do a longer live video.
Guys, I want to go back to the 90s. Things were so much better, but we can't go back there, unfortunately. If I had a time machine, I'd go back to the 90s and I'd smash it up. Are we good?
We're good.
How long
Thank
we
you,
got, Sarah?
moderators. It's 9 o'clock now.
Guys,
Thank
moderators, you
Brad
guys have
Aston
been the best.
Lawridge,
We really
thank you.
appreciate it. Guys who've subscribed, thank you so much for trialling our food. We got an
Gifters,
awesome
thank
feedback. Guys, look. We've got our own food and it's going to be out there soon. We've got our own branded food and that's coming out to you. It's going to be long life. It's going to be delicious and it's awesome. So guys, thank you. I've got nothing else to say except
Thank you.
look after yourself and stay lucky.
Bye.